I mean, usually people get less hair. It's
You just get
a
more.
curious case. Huh?
Benjamin,
Exactly.
what with Benjamin Button? What was the guy?
That's the guy. Yeah, or am I slowly turning into a werewolf? Without facial hair, though.
Also possible. Also possible. For everyone checking in right now, welcome to the Artist Coaching Podcast with another guest this week, a brand new guest. Welcome, Anton.
Thanks, man.
How are you?
I am great. I'm finally back in the office after a classic Swedish summer holiday. So
How long is that?
it depends. But this year it was 3 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, but then I came back and worked for a few days, and I went to Ibiza. So that was
Hey.
great. Hey.
You
So,
say typical Swedish. Did you stay in one of those cabins by the lake?
I did. My
Nice.
wife's father has one of those classic, red summer houses, with the white paint around the windows. It's very
Yeah.
traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You,
It's
you're
really
born
cool.
Swedish.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's amazing.
But you are Swedish, right? You're born and raised there.
Born in Sri Lanka and then adopted to Sweden very, very early on. We're talking weeks. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. But yeah, so I'm 39. So I feel
Okay.
very, very Swedish.
Yeah, you have the Swedish English accent going on. So
Really? Oh,
yeah,
shit.
like you talk like Swedish House Mafia.
Oh, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a very like particular way of talking. So
Yeah, are there
I'm
different ways of talking like with a Swedish accent or?
yes, believe me, it is.
Hmm.
But I would say they're probably the same as any country, right? It's if you go up north, it can become quite hard at times, and if you go down south, it is the same.
Same for
So
us.
yeah, I guess.
I think to us, Swedish English sounds very cool, though.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Dutch English sounds very
Farmish.
like like we're farmers. Like, oh, you speak also English, yeah? And
Yeah,
Swedish is more like Swedish English is more like it's more cool, I
More
think.
sophisticated or something.
It actually
Yeah.
sounds pretty English to me. The accent is like, okay, could be English as well. Whereas
Yeah.
we Dutchies, we sound more like the German scientific evil dudes,
yeah.
I
Doctor
think.
Evil for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Hey, Anton, for the people checking in right now, could you like shortly tell us what you do? Like, what's your profession?
So I do A&R at Universal Music Publishing Group. So I'm at the publishing entity of Universal.
Mhm.
I've been here for 12 years and been specializing in electronic music ever since. I've been working with most genres at some point, but my specialty is in electronic music for sure.
Okay. And what does a publisher actually do?
I mean, it's actually different from a lot of for all publishers. I would say. I think that on the publishing side, we work with the creators, the people who are doing the music. So you don't necessarily have to be an artist to be signed to a publisher. You can be a true traditional songwriter or a producer or a lyricist or a melody maker, or you can, as long as you're sort of crafting the music or crafting music in some ways.
Mhm.
We work with, our core business is collecting copyright income from royalties, from money generated from the works that are signed, the catalogs that are signed to, for me, Universal.
Mhm.
But it's same with Cobalt or Sony Publishing or Warner Chappell. We collect income. So if Jay is releasing a song, and it's getting played a bit all over in the world, hopefully, that those plays or airplays or streams, they will generate income, and we work with collecting that income and distributing it to the people
And
that we work
Yeah.
with.
is it also royalties as you mentioned? So also like streaming royalties or just the sales?
Yes, but not for the master side, only for the sort of the songwriting side, the composition side.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I think this is where things get really complicated for most listeners, as in
Yeah,
Yeah.
for new artists, it's
the
Yeah,
complicated.
right
yeah.
side
For
of
older
music.
artists as well.
Yeah, but even for us, live like 15 years in the music industry, sometimes I'm still thinking like, what? Like, how does this work? There's so many streams of income
Yeah.
and so many different sets of rights on the same track.
Yeah.
So could you kind of make it easy for us to understand which part of the rights you collect?
Yes. So let's say that I'm gonna take Jay as a good example, and if he makes a song, he might make it by himself, or he might make it with a songwriter or an additional producer or a top liner or whatever. And then when that song is done, you sort of you decide on the publishing splits, right? So you sit down, or the publishers sit down, and if Jay has done a song with another 2 or 3 people, we all sit down. Either we do a chat like this, usually not live streamed, but we sit down and we have a talk. Like, usually it's very, very simple. I think over the last 12 years that I've been here, it's been very, very rare that we don't get along. That we can't decide on what the splits will be. But sometimes it's been a sort of a difficult route to get the song done, and someone brought Jay maybe brought his friend in to do a little tweaks on the lyrics, which we all love, when people just come in from the side and we're not aware, and that can cause confusion. But it's all up to us to decide, and to have a talk about it, and usually it's super, super simple. So but then so we are not the label. We don't release music like the classic labels do, Spin-In or Armada or Universal, Sony, Warner, the gazillion ones of them. We don't do that. So we work with helping then the songwriters to all extents, and I work on I am not the one doing the collection. We have a royalty and administrative department who is doing that. And we are doing, we're probably the best in the world at doing it, I would say. I might be biased, but I would say that we're the best in the world at doing it.
Just
at
a little
Universal.
bias, maybe.
Just a little bias, maybe. But but all in all, we are here to make sure that people get paid for the streaming or airplay or mechanical licensing income out there.
What I always wondered with my own music, because I've released about 50 records as well, I
Yeah.
still get paid every now and then. But what I've always wondered is, in Europe, in America, I guess things are arranged pretty well. Like when a radio plays a song, it's registered, and like everyone gets their percentages every now and then.
Yeah.
But when you go to like Africa, Asia, is it arranged properly there as well, or is it just like you have no clue if your track will be played there?
I think that it's definitely getting a lot better. It's not my expertise area, but I would say that it's definitely getting better everywhere. I think that the sort of the major radio stations, or they've all done deals with the local societies or the international societies. So this is not my expertise area, but I would definitely say that it's we're doing the best that we can, and we're making sure that the money being generated is collected to the best of our that we can do. That probably countries in the world that doesn't have the same setup as maybe Holland or or Sweden or the US or have it, but it's definitely something that is important to us and that we are definitely keeping tabs on.
Yeah, because I still remember being in South Africa about, I think it's 14 years ago or something, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And the guy there, do you know Soul Candy Records?
I don't think that I do.
I'm not sure if it still is, but it used to be a big EDM label there.
Okay.
And the guy was telling me, like, if you tune into the radio here, all
Yeah.
you heard was bootlegs. So
Oh,
it was
okay.
just like the original hits that we play here, but just completely copied, and now it's right. Nobody cared. So I was like, how does that work? Like how is someone getting paid through that?
Oh, I don't know. Hopefully there is a system for it. I don't know if it is, but hopefully it
Probably
is a
not.
system for it.
Probably
Probably not,
not.
but
Uh-huh.
but it's it's probably possible, to make it work. But a lot there are still pirate radio out there who does whatever
Yeah.
they want, and it's the same with illegal downloading. It's still out there. I don't really know why anyone would pirate music anymore.
Honestly,
I don't know if
I don't
do,
even know how to do it anymore. Like, I don't.
no.
Which platforms would you go
I
to?
know.
Uh,
BitLord,
okay.
BitLord.
torrents, and BitLord. It's easy.
Is torrent still a thing?
Yeah, of
Do you,
course. Yeah, to be honest, I use it all
Okay.
the time for downloading new plugins. I'm not gonna buy them right away.
Oh, so you
Because
try
you
them
want to
out.
try
Yeah.
them first.
Yeah, definitely, and also want to save my work. So sometimes you have to try before you buy, but then you cannot save your work. But yeah, that just doesn't work for me.
Ralph, you're
And
so Dutch, man. You're so Dutch.
Like,
I
it's
think
called
I think
economics 101.
no,
Yeah.
I think a lot of plugins by these days have a very easy trial version that's like 30 days. You can save it,
Yeah.
whatever. If it doesn't, it's probably not even worth checking out anyways. So and then I think you're making money with music, and I think you should pay for it. I think
Hey, I pay for everything I use, and I use it because whenever I record my screen, I don't want people to see that I use cracked stuff. So no, hey, everything.
So there's a tutorial coming up. Let me buy all the licenses before I.
That's why it always takes so much time. Oh shit, have to buy all those licenses again.
Yeah.
No,
Very
but
No,
old
no,
school
but
of you,
to be
Ralph.
honest, I'm really wary of that. But yeah, it's just also so easy. You just download the torrent, put it in BitLord, and you got it. Key
It sounds
generator,
easier
let's
just to
go.
buy it. It sounds easier just to buy it.
Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
think
yeah. But the
the
earning the
software has
money is
come.
the hard part. We don't have a publisher, by the way.
But you
I
have
think the
3.7 million monthly listeners, bro.
yeah.
Yeah, we should have a publisher also.
You didn't get
No,
that
no,
in
but hey,
place.
in all honesty, I buy everything I use on a regular basis, and because I
Yeah.
don't want to be the guy that works with cracked shit. And also,
No.
everybody earns their credits, but I just want to point out it's still really easy, and I
It's
don't
still there.
illegally download music. I don't know
Okay.
why. Why would anyone
No,
for
Yeah,
movies, for
exactly.
that
I
matter?
didn't even know it was still a thing to use torrents, but I guess it is. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
us
yeah. I
youths,
think
we still use
plugin
them,
wise,
no?
it's become so easy to work with and to pay for it, and they all have like the license thing. And music wise, it's basically free, although you pay with your data. So if you sign up to Spotify or the free account,
Yeah,
you
of
probably still
course.
pay with your information. But yeah, I think that's also probably one of the reasons to or one of the reasons to sign, because that's what I'm interested in. I mean, I know why I would sign to a publisher, but what do you think, Anton, is the big reason, the main reason for artists to sign to a publisher? Because there's the collecting money part, but there's
Yep.
also the supporting the artist part.
Oh yeah,
Those are,
for
for
sure.
me, two of the reasons to sign to a publisher. How do you see that, and what is most important usually?
I foremost, I think that the copyright part is absolutely, that's how we make money. That's how we keep the lights on, and also, but then that all publisher does that, right? Like that's the core business of publishing. But then it's about I would say, definitely the supporting artist side, supporting the composers. I would say that working with people that can understand your vision, and working with people who can be there and help you guide you through success, guide you through failure, being there and understanding the creative and artistic side of it. I think that's super important, no matter what sort of music you do. If you're a rapper or a pop artist or a electronic producer, finding people who can understand your vision and be there to support you in that, even if it's like, okay, I want to be a local Swedish or Dutch language artist, or if it's like I want to headline Coachella, working with someone who respects that and and understands it and support your vision and give you the tools so that you can be the best that you can be, and just understand the logic behind everything, and someone who can offer perspective on your arts and the things that you work with and the things you go through, the struggles. I'm definitely a different A&R than I was 12 years ago or 11 and a half years ago when I started here. At that point it was like, anything is possible, like just whatever, we'll try this, we'll try that. Now, for the better or the worse, at sometimes I wish I was more like the person I was when I 11 and a half years ago, because it's like no problem. I hadn't encountered any sort of obstacles and didn't know what you couldn't do. It's just like everything is a possibility. When you're 39 and you've gone through things, you gathered experience, and it's like you can feel a bit like the that you're keeping holding people back, like, oh no, let's not try that, let's not do that. But I'm getting out of hand here, but I think that working with people and finding the right person for you, finding the right person who understands your craft, who respects your craft and wants to be a part of it and build the success story with you. I
And
think
does that mean
that's
collaborations or?
can be collaborations, it can be feedback, it can be finding top liners, it can be finding co-producers. Not everyone can make full-fledged top class productions by themselves. I think that there are definitely some people who are not able to do that, and helping people find that, find remixes, find find new vocalists. Even we can do that too. Yeah.
So you're
So
kind of like a the connection between a lot of like creative people, so singers, songwriters, as you said, labels as well, maybe for remix opportunities, or you're kind of like a middleman between those things.
we can be, definitely. It depends. I think that's the most important thing. We don't just go out like sign people here, take a deal, you get it. But we're not opera, like we're not just you get a publishing deal. It's not how we do it, because it's a big responsibility what we're doing. I think that we take it very, very, very seriously, and we know that it's a big responsibility to work with someone, but to do that and to work in the right way where you actually understand each other. It's like any relationship, really. Like you don't go on the first date and say, hey, maybe we should just get married and have kids, right? Like maybe you don't do that on the first date. I wanted to do that with my wife though, but it was like you go on a few dates, you get to know each other, you understand each other's needs and each other's backstories and where you come from, and some people are they know exactly how to do it, and they think they know exactly how to do it, but you learn after a while how where can we be of help. Some people need great top lines, some people need co-producers. Everyone is so different.
Yeah.
But yes, we're very much a bridge, I would say. In most projects that I work with, we're bridges and introducers.
How many projects or artists do you work with at the same time?
It actually depends, like week to week, I would say. So at some point everyone is in full recording mode and it's just like, okay, I'm in production mode, I need to finish all these songs. And then you maybe work for that week, you work super hard on one project or 2 or 3 projects. But right now maybe it's like 10 or so.
Okay.
8 to 10 that's very active. Then it's maybe like 6 or 7 that is just doing their own thing or out touring and not in recording mode because they have all the songs for the next 6 months or so.
And what's one of the, if you can name them, but what are some of the projects that you've worked with in the past?
I've worked with a bit different things. I've been doing like 50% artist project and 50% composers who are writing and doing music for others. So it's been, and that's been great. I've been working with the Swedish group. I worked with a Swedish group called Vigilant for many years. It was really big in like the Melbourne bounce thing, which was
Melbourne bounce.
amazing.
I was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
talking to someone yesterday and I couldn't come up with the term, but it was Melbourne bounce. Yeah, that
It
was
was
it.
Melbourne Bounce. I think Will Sparks was
Yeah,
definitely like
exactly. Yeah. I was
the
I
big
was
front
talking to
runner.
someone
Yeah.
about that music, like with the upbeat bass, like
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, what's it named? It's Melbourne Bounce.
TJR. He was also
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
cool
yeah.
time.
No, but that was funny. I think that was such a great story. I signed them when they were still. One of the guys was still in high school, so he ran out through. Then we started talking. He ran out from his classes to pick up my phone. I was like, "Yeah, we have to fix it. Okay, I'm gonna be home from school." And oh shit, yeah, you're in school still. Right. That, and they were just putting music out themselves. They got signed to Universal Music as well, became one of the biggest streaming acts in Sweden. And at some point it was like they were, because we helped them find the songwriters that they could write, because they didn't write them, like they didn't sit down and write. But they were great, great, great producers, and they really got that whole genre of it. Like they really own that. And watching them grow from being in school still
Hmm.
to just touring the world and playing Madison Square Garden at some esport event in front of 15,000
Yeah.
people. Like that was massive. Then I placed songs for a bunch of artists. I placed music with Martin Garrix and Otto Knows, who is signed to us, and placed it with Alesso. And so it's been a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of different sides
Hmm.
to it all, which I think was fantastic. It's great.
And if you look at that, if you look at like those artists, like what would you say you've seen over the past years that is like that an artist kind of needs in order to become successful? Is there like one thing they all have in common to you?
Hard work and dedication.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
it's that's what combines. I had this talk with someone the other day. I can't remember who it was, but we spoke about like just this. And the thing is, like, hard work and dedication to what you're doing a lot of the time beats talent.
Mm-hmm.
you know i, I think that seeing someone just deciding like, okay, but like I need to become the best at this in the world. When you get calls from the people you work with, at like 10:30 on a Sunday evening, you get like, oh, what? But then you realize, yeah, sure, because I am home with my kid and who is probably sleeping, but like I'm home and this is my Sunday. But for this person, this artist's life. Like
Mm-hmm.
this person, like all of you guys, like living it 24/7, whilst I'm an A&R and I work with it, but it's not like I don't live it because I'm not the artist. Like I'm the A&R. I'm there to support and help, but I'm not the artist who is living it. Like I'm not the one on stage. I am not the one in the studio, tweaking that kick drum for 20 plus hours. Like that's so we have to respect that as well. And I love that. Like I love when people are that dedicated to it, because that means that they want it.
Yeah.
I think that when people like me, when I want it more than the artist or the songwriter or producer, that's when like this is not, like I cannot be in a situation where I want someone to be successful more than that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the dedication part is most interesting to me, because I think
Yeah,
a lot of people can work hard, but to be dedicated to something where you're not sure really if it's going to be a success, or um, that's really interesting to me, because that's where you as an artist also like, I'm dedicating to this even though it
yeah,
might not work. But I also think from the people I've worked with, like you as well, it's like as an A&R, you also are kind of in that period before the success. So you also need to
yeah,
be
yeah,
very dedicated to projects without maybe there's no success. So how do you,
yeah.
especially with a big group like Universal, how do you tell your boss like, I'm gonna sign this guy, but there's no track record yet, or there's no but we got to dedicate to this. How does that work on the business side of it?
It has to start there, you know. And also that's the work, you know, being A&R. It's elevating, you know. We try to elevate people from where they are now until the next level, you know, working. And you telling my boss, it's you know, I have to first of all convince myself, or you know, I have to be convinced myself. And if I'm convinced, then you know, the easy part is taking it to the business affairs team here and say that, okay, look, like I'm having those conversations all the time. But it's also about not signing 20 people, because we have to be very careful what we decide to pursue and what we are trying to pursue, and because where we feel that we can actually contribute value, because that, you know, we're going to come back to that a lot probably, but adding value to the projects that we're working with is definitely the most important thing that we do. I can, you know, any publisher can probably approach anyone and say, hey, we're going to try and sign Calvin Harris for a gazillion euros. He's gonna, you know, and he's already at the top. But that's not the hard part. And also, that's not really doing A&R, saying that, look, this is these numbers are huge. We're gonna make money at some point, or we won't, who knows. But we need to be there and very early on to see that, you know, can we add something here? I'm not sure that I would be able to add anything to like Calvin Harris, you know. I think that I get the sense that he's got it under control, but you know,
he's
I
doing
think
well lately.
yeah, he's doing quite well. But I also, but also the fun part is to be there and be able to talk about, like, okay, how can we do this together? Like, what do you need help with? Can I add something to this? And I've definitely been in conversations with people that you wanted to sign, but you realize I cannot really do anything here. Like you, and maybe I can be part of it and somehow, or maybe I won't be a part of it.
And is that because they're already too far in the process, or they don't have?
Some people are, you know, or they have it under control. They think that they, you know, are on the right path, and they're not looking to add people, and they just want to be in their ways.
So what are some of the things that you look for when you have those conversations? When would you say an artist is interested for you to work with? What are you looking for? What are the boxes you have
and
to check?
at what point in their career
Yeah.
would they be? And what do you think, in what point of the career does an artist need an A&R or publisher?
I think people know that themselves. It's different from everyone, I think. You know, I think that, you know, we all know Martin Garrix. You know, he did Animals by you know, by himself, and you know, he, at least this is from what I know, you know, he did Animals by himself, and it blew up and became the biggest electronic song in the world. Nobody could probably have A&R'd that song, but you know, when you hear it, we all have those songs like that got us hooked to one artist or another. I mean, foremost, I'm a music lover, and for me, it's like, you know, when you hear something, it can be anything from like a stab synth to how someone tweaks their kicks, or you know, the Eric Pritz snare drum. You know, it's like you just feel it. Like there is something in you that you like. Oh shit! Like I cannot stop listening to this.
You sounded
This-
so proud of Sweden there with the.
No, I did. I realized. But it's like we all know what I'm talking about.
There has been
but
a
it's like-
moment in time where every EDM song included that snare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's
good
it's such a good snare, but I think that for me, it's all about, like, it can also be an artist who has been at a big top or is declining, that you feel like, hey, maybe there is something that I can add here and help the person sort of find a new audience or elevate that person or that artist or songwriter into something else, just by offering, you know, perspective on things. Like, and so hopefully, you know, the people that we meet are at some point in their career where they feel that they need A&R, or someone needs to add value to what that person is doing. I mean, be it, you know, helping collecting money, or if it is, you know, offering to bring in songwriters or co-producers or whatever. I think that's super, super important. And, you know, I would say it's like 50-50, but you know, the most fun projects is the projects when you find something and you're like, I love this music so much. I need to be a part of it. Like there is no way I am not gonna be able to be a part of it. And
Mm.
I mean, I found someone in a songwriting school many years ago. I worked so hard on signing this person, but in the end, he's just like you. And he didn't even release a song, but he said like, "Hey, I don't feel that we connect creatively."
Mm.
And I was I was so proud of that project. I'm like, he's gonna be such a huge star. And now, he went on. He signed with someone else, and he's now like one of the biggest indie artists in Sweden. And of course, does it bother me? Sure. I mean, at some point, but like we did not connect creatively. I was just the biggest supporter of his music, but creatively, he wouldn't have been as successful with me. I mean, I know that, and that's what you also have to know about yourself. Like, you cannot say that, you can't be angry because you missed out on it, like someone chooses to work with someone else. So of course it's a shame, and you can be like, shit. But it's also like you need to respect that, because you don't vibe and connect with everyone. It's just how it is.
So the personal connection is also one of the most important things to when you work.
Absolutely, 100%. It's like any friendship, like any relationship. You have some people that you are vibing with at least 90% of the time, and you have some people you don't vibe with at all. Like you would not sit next to them at a dinner or a party, because you just don't connect spiritually.
Yeah. I was yesterday I had to give a masterclass, and somebody asked me a question like, it was a beginning artist, and he was really wondering like, how do I build a network? How do I build a network?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think you should see it as a network. I think you should see it as a group of friends, right? Like you should just approach it the same way as how you make friends in normal life. It's the same in the music industry. Yes, you work together.
Making friends in normal life is pretty hard, huh?
Yeah, for you it is, but you're like a super producer. Like, yeah. No, but no, it's I don't
No,
think
but it's
can be
always
hard.
a scary thing to go to people you don't know. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
It's
I can see it
it's
with
also
my kids.
some
I can see it around me, whether I'm backstage Tomorrowland. You see people staring, and yeah, or you or yourself are staring. I
Yeah.
didn't. I chickened out approaching Shaquille O'Neal,
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, well,
and I think we could be
reasonable.
perfect
That's a
friends.
big guy. That's a big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
but
No,
but
but yeah,
I
I
it's
think
agree.
yeah, it's kind of
but
hard,
that's
huh? Like
something
yeah,
that's something also like it's hard to realize that you need to vibe with people, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah.
I remember also in college they would have us like learn networking, and they were like, you now go to this event and you have to learn to network, so you have conversations, and it's like, okay, I was doing that because I was in college and trying to. I
that's
mean,
a
I
good
wasn't
thing. Yeah.
DJing big, but then when I started DJing more and more, I realized I've been networking, really networking
Yeah.
the whole time from when I started making music, just by reaching out to other producers that I liked and guys that I was like, hey, you're on the same level,
Yeah.
not like career wise, but like creatively wise. And then I realized, hey, that's what for me networking is mostly about. Like, hey, with this guy, I'm on the same level. Let's
Yeah.
go into the studio. Let's work together. And like you said, Anton, just now, like that's something I've learned along the way a bit more. Like, hey, I don't know how I'm going to work with this person, but I need to be involved, or with a project, or with some person that is working at a label or a manager.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get that, like, hey, there's something. This guy person gives me energy, and I think that's something to, especially in the beginning of a career, like focus on that. Focus on finding other producers, not per se the famous producers or the successful ones, but the ones that are like, hey, I like that guy and I like what he's doing
Yeah.
creatively. That's overlooked sometimes, I think.
I absolutely agree. I think that, finding people who you connect with on a spiritual level is so important. I mean, it's important in life. It's about
Yeah.
friends. It's about who do you want to spend time with, and who do you believe can be there with you through failure and success, and the hard parts of life in general. Because working with music, it's not something you just stop doing when the clock hits 5 p.m. You live through it all the time. I mean, I would say what you guys are doing, and what I'm doing, it is a way of life, and it's something we chose. I
Passion.
think, yeah, and it is passion, and you know, I think that having people around you who are always, and it can be your friends. I mean, I am not none of my close friends are A&Rs like that. That's not what they do. I mean, but they still give me, being on the creative side of things, like perspective on stuff, because it's also nice, when maybe you miss the signing or some big project you work with, it's not like doing well, and you can meet them for like a beer, and you're just like, oh shit, this, and they're like, oh, that sucks, man. Want another beer?
Yeah.
It's just nice to get that sort of life perspective as well, and I think that's super, super important.
Yeah, it's something. It's you can learn to tune into that, to like as a person. I think the way
Absolutely.
Mike Hawkins, who's a really good producer, described it to me once. He was like, whenever you had a meeting with someone or coffee, or like you went in the studio, or just a quick meeting,
Yeah.
does your world feel bigger or smaller?
Yeah.
And that's such a good indicator to realize, hey, this person, whatever he does, makes my world bigger. Then that's something to remember with that person and tune into.
Yeah.
Sometimes I realize that if you're trying to realize it, sometimes you even realize it when someone enters the studio, and you feel like you have to talk differently, or like not make certain jokes. Then you're like, that's not my person.
Yeah,
In a good
exactly.
way, because you can also just not be on the same level and still be friends, but it's good to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Especially
but
in creative business.
it's about energy, right? Like it's
Yeah.
about what sort of energy does people bring into those sort of, to any meeting or any rendezvous.
Everybody hide.
Yes,
Everybody
Joey
hide.
has a
Because
book
Joe is
about
getting
this.
a book.
He always
Oh.
brings the books out.
If you want to become better at talking to people and like figuring out how to make friends, this is a good book. It's a classic though. How to Win
Yeah,
Friends and Influence People. It's I think it's even from which it's really old, but it might be a tough read, but there's a lot of valuable stuff in there. It's from 1936 actually, so it's
Oh
pretty
wow.
old.
wow.
But there's a lot of valuable insights there if you want to learn more about communicating and talking to people in general. It's not
Yeah,
just in the music industry, but in life as well. With friends in the bar, with girls, maybe. I don't know.
but it is important,
It
to
is, yeah.
understand that, and it has to do with everything. Not everyone is going to be a great, you know friend of yours, but there is also a lot to win by learning what sort of people you do not vibe with.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's one of the most undervalued things in the music industry, that the personal connections you have and the let's say network, quote unquote, you
Yeah,
have. I think that's one of the most valuable things you can have as an artist, because
yeah.
you can make the best music on the planet, but if you're a jerk to work with, I don't know if anyone would sign you or want to work with you.
No, I agree. It's so much about that for me. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people who just came and said, "Hey, I don't care what you do or say. I just want a big chunk of money. I want a big advance." And I respect it. Like I respect whatever is people's reason to do this. I don't really care. But it's like, okay, but I'm not gonna be able to work with that person because I want to be there and work with people and not sort of be a bank. I don't think that that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm striving towards. And I think that you're absolutely right. I think that there is a lot to win by understanding that, all of that.
Now that you've mentioned advances, could you maybe explain a bit more about how that works? Because most artists might not be aware of the fact that you can get advances and how those things work.
Sure. We offer people advances. Some people are interested in advances. Some people are not interested in
And
advances.
why would they be interested, and why won't they be?
Some people are interested in it because they need support when it comes to their finances. Because maybe some people want to take 1 day less of work in their normal jobs, because I don't think that it's I don't think that it's very common, and maybe not also the best thing to do is just like you get signed and then you just stop working. You just can only do music. It's very rare. I don't know what it was like for you guys, but it was probably like for a lot of people, it's that financial support, and having, maybe someone needs to buy a new computer, or someone needs to buy a plugins, like Ralph,
Ralph, you need
could
an
do with
advance.
I need a big advance.
who could use an advance so he can purchase his plugins. And some people
Can you get him some decent internet as well? That might be nice.
yes, some people need to pay their internet bills, but it's also, and for some people it can be just that they can sort of finance their, because it's not free to do music, even though Spotify's chairman might say so, that it's free to do music. I don't agree at all. I think that it comes with great investments. I mean, that studio that Ralph has is not for free. It can be like you need to rent the studio, you need to buy the speakers, all of that, and I wouldn't say that, I would say that a lot of people are becoming more and more conscious about how they spend their money and how they spend their advance. Not everyone, of course. I mean, people have always, and probably always will, do crazy things with their money. But so that's why some people get an advance, and you can get that. And it's not like we're just like, how much are we going to pay? We do very serious calculations, and we are not at least I am definitely not, and we are not at UMPG interested in like just going out there and just paying people crazy sums of money to lock them into deals.
Because those advances are calculated on like projections of what you expect that artist will sell in the future.
Yes, like if they're all, it can be both. If you have music out, we can do some calculations, like how much is being generated right now, and how much do we project, or are we thinking that this person will make, and we try to come up with something. And I would say most of those conversations are very healthy, and it's, if it's not healthy, sometimes you're on definitely different sides of it, and then it's usually not great, because if you as an artist have too big of an advance to, because that advance is recoupable, right? So it's not the Salvation Army where you're sort of giving money away. That advance is being recouped against what you are streaming, or your airplay, or sales, so that money is recoupable, as we call it.
So
And
as long as you didn't make that amount of money and paid you back in some kind of way, you're stuck into the contract, right?
not really. I cannot go into contractual details because it's different for everyone. But it's I can say that we're not gonna hold anyone for life like that. But I cannot go into detail on it. But it's, and that's also the thing. Like, you don't want anyone that you work with to like be stuck in a contract or anything like that, because they at some point got a huge advance that was not reasonable, or so to say.
Yeah. And what is like? Could you give? I'm not sure if you can, but what's like a starting advance? If you're like a starting artist and you can get signed to a publisher, what's like the average?
I can't say it because we don't have any standard.
In general, I think that's very hard to say. That must be so different per artist and what you write for. I think, but I think it's also with Universal. I've been signed to Universal, where that honest conversation is very important. But it's also because Universal is such a professional organization. There won't be like a really crazy advance, because it's always reasonable. And I think as an artist, you should also realize, hey, if my advance feels unreasonably high, you must question that from the artist side as well. Like
Yeah.
if you sign into a certain publisher or label or whatever, there's
Yeah.
always there should be a good explanation for an advance, and if there's
Yeah.
not, you have to be maybe wary of the contract, or but it can be for beginning artists especially. It can be very a big sum of money.
Tempting to
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of
So that's
course.
but that's why like when I signed with Universal, it was very different. It was just very realistic. But there's also been other publishers in the meantime that came with offers, and I was not focused too much on the money side. And I think some people in this industry think that's what wins artists over.
Yeah.
It's such a it can be difficult to navigate
I think it all,
as an
Absolutely.
artist.
I think it also depends on your personal situation, right? So
Yeah.
if you need the money, then it might be more tempting to sign. And if you don't need the money, then you have obviously like a more luxury position to
Yeah,
Of
but
talk
it's
course.
also that's how I always looked at it. It's kind of a dividing risk between the
Yeah.
publisher and the artist, because if I don't want, let's say, I don't get a advance for the publisher, yeah, he could just lean back and like, okay, there's no risk for me. All that's
Yeah.
coming in is coming in, and but on the other side, the artist could do the same if he gets a big advance. Like, hey, F that, I'm gonna chill out now. So there has to be a good balance. Like, it's a stick behind the door. Is that a way of saying? It's like a
Yeah, I
stick
think it
that
is.
everybody needs to work for each other and should be
Stick,
willing
yeah.
also.
It's a Dutch
Yeah.
saying.
I
To
think it is.
translate it to English.
Wait,
Yeah, it's
a
a Dutch
stick
saying. Yeah.
behind.
But hey,
Yeah,
Jokke, you were signed at Universal, but now you're not, right?
No, I'm
You're
not.
free
No.
agent.
Free agent. Yeah.
Why? Why is that?
I like Anton as well. I think I like to work with people, and the people I used to work with in Universal Netherlands, they don't work there anymore at this
Was
moment.
it
And then
Oscar Ombach who signed you?
yeah,
Who-
yeah.
Yeah.
Oscar was the first
Shout
one
out
that signed me,
Oscar.
together with Mark
Yeah.
Bremer.
Shout out Mark Bremer. Shout out Oscar Ombach, who's now at
Yeah,
Music All
yeah.
Stars.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but then I kind of was like, I'm not sure where I want to go. This was 2021. There were new people at Universal who I also really got along with. But
Yeah.
for me, it was just kind of a thing to say, okay, I'm going to pause and look where I'm going to go
Yeah.
career-wise and musically. And then
Yeah.
I'm still at that at that point
2024
at this
still
time.
there.
Yeah,
No,
still at
but
that point. But you have to see
but
my old tracks are still signed
Yeah.
to Universal, so that's still like the tracks that I signed then. Universal still collects
yeah.
that for me. So
But I think Oscar is who signed Oscar Ombach. He who signed you. Signed Garrix as well. He
yeah,
such a legendary guy. Great A&R.
yeah,
I have so much love and respect for him. He's doing super well, and someone that I've always had great respect for. I would say.
yeah, super honest as well. Because I remember when I first met Oscar and Mark. I got a meeting with Universal through Martin Garrix, and
Yeah.
they were kind of like honest to me, like, "Hey, we're not sure about you,"
Wow.
and it was kind of like we're not really sure. And then, but that was before the meeting. But then Martin was really also like vouching for me, so he was like, "Hey, you need this guy," and that they were super open and honest about that. And
Yeah.
that's how I've always seen the relationship. Just hey, just super honest, like these are
Yeah.
the numbers, this is what we expect, and that's something I've always loved in general in the whole music industry. That's what the people I want to work with. I want people to be realistic about the future, not promise me like
Golden
mountains of money or shows,
Yeah.
because that's also part of me was also like, hey, I signed to Universal now, things are gonna happen. Guess what? Nothing happened from my side. So like then you have to realize, oh, I'm still the one in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a big thing as well. Signing to any label or manager or agent, it's still, you are still the one with the vision and with the main plan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something
I
to
was
I,
listening
beware
to a
of.
podcast yesterday with Mark Knight from Toolroom Records, and he also mentioned quite clearly, like, artists should really know that those people, like labels and publishers and bookers, they work for you and you don't work for them. As in, you should have the vision, you should bring all the products, and they will like help you to move them or to bring them in a better position or market them. But eventually you're the top of the funnel, right? So if you don't work and you don't make music, no one else has anything to do as well. And that also had to do with the fact that most people think that when they sign to a big publisher or label, they kind of get lazy because they feel like, oh, now I'm signed to this big agency, like, let's chill and
yeah,
let's wait
yeah,
for those gigs to come in. And
Or
that's not
no,
how it
insecure.
works.
Or insecure because you think I'm now signed to this big label, and then you go into the studio, and then that day your music still sounds like shit, or that day
no,
it just doesn't work. And you're like, oh no, but I should be better because I'm signed too.
no.
It
Like
can work
imposter
that way too.
syndrome.
I think it's. I definitely think it's two sides of it. I think it's very important what you guys are saying, and I so much respect for Mark Knight. I think that it's so important that you realize that it's a team effort, right? Like we work together, and we win together and we lose together. That it's very much like that. I'm a big supporter of the fact that we're doing it together. And I mean, working with my colleagues here at Universal Publishing in Stockholm, it's so great because when things are rough and hard, I can go into my colleagues and like, what do I do here? Like, what am I going to do in this project? What do you think? And they offer perspectives, and I think that's so great. And you can get that from a co-writer as well, or you can get it from a manager, but it should definitely feel like a team effort, right? Like it should feel
Yeah.
like we're doing it together, and it's not like if someone that I work with fail, it's not like I'm gonna be, oh well, it's so good for me because I have so many other successful clients. Because again, it's a responsibility that you bring to the table, and either you're in the team or you're not in the team. And I really want to be in the team. And if some people think that yeah, but Anthony Universal, he can do whatever he wants. He works with so many people. It's like, yeah, but I also work with you.
Yeah.
And I'm not never going to be more successful than what you are, because if I'm out there just thinking of the things that are doing super well, I mean, there are always places where you can be in, like, okay, so how do we work with this that's going on right now? Like, how do we work with this project? How do we bring this from point A to point B?
Yeah.
I think that's very important to emphasize.
True.
Yeah,
Ralph,
I
I'm
love
just
the win together, lose together. That's
yeah.
the
Yeah,
main thing. Yeah, just a quick on that. Like I have that with my manager now. We decide to have a certain approach to a release schedule or whatever, and then we're gonna put all our effort in, and then we'll see if it might have success or not. But
yeah,
at least we put all our effort in. I think that's the win and lose together. That's the people you want to work with.
True.
yeah, absolutely. And if you don't feel that you can sustain a rainy day with someone, when you have success, everything is probably all good. It's like, hey, we're just gonna enjoy right now and figure out the next steps. But if you find someone where you feel, it can be a manager, co-writer, friend, whatever, where you can endure a rainy day, and where things are not great, if you find that, then you found something very special. And I think that's so important,
True.
no matter what it is, your
Yeah.
relationship is like.
But that also comes back to that personal relationship that you have with
Yeah,
each other. It comes back to the fact that you should have each other's back in good and bad times, just as in a
yeah,
marriage.
yeah.
But it's really about that personal connection, I would say. Ralph,
It's all.
what I'm wondering, like, if you go out and look for a publisher, what's the things that you are looking for?
Oh, dear man, I'm in the same position as Jobke. We are free agents since like 2021, and I don't know what I want. And sometimes, I mean, the world has changed and it's become a lot more transparent,
Yeah,
I think. Whereas if you would ask me 10 years ago, I would be very happy if my publisher could set me up with great vocalists, writers, co-producers even. Whereas now, obviously, I'm further along in my career, and my network is a lot bigger. Even though I have a hard time making friends, and so you're a little less dependent. But I do like to be surprised from an angle because I see the world through my eyes and always think from my own mind, and it's always nice to have fresh input, but it also costs, and that's where you make it's the trade-off.
Yeah.
And then you can also consider like an admin deal. I'm saying that right, or not,
Yeah.
Anton?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where is they only handle the financial things and try to emphasize that and don't work with you in a creative way. But um, that's not what I really want. So yeah, but that's the thing. It's gonna cost you a little bit a piece of the pie, and don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, everybody deserves it. But again, being economical, it's how I started here today, and still am. But it's a lot. You have a label who gets a big piece of the pie. You have your agents, the publisher. You have a lawyer. You have a accountant, and it's like all these things. So you're also you want to maximize all those things also financially, but should also be maximized performance-wise. So I'm still I'm leaning more towards a creative collaboration than a financial one, because pure of the fact those surprises, that can make your day, and I rather have one happy day a year more than
Yeah.
some cash more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of like getting an
Cashmere?
extra.
Ah,
Sorry,
they bring on. Yeah, I know him already. So
but it's more about like having a new perspective on your own music and
and
having
it's
different set of
important
ears.
because we're all so stuck in our own truths, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to get out of. So I would value that. And but it's different for somebody who's doing this for we're doing it for 17 years now. And if you're just starting out, and then if you're just starting out, emphasize always on the creative part. Learn,
Yeah.
learn, 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 and yeah, invest in yourself. Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I think that's super smart. Just learn about it and, find the right person for you. And don't
Mm.
look so much towards like what is the name of the company. I don't think that, the people I work with feel like I'm signed to Universal Publishing. It's just like they are, they work with me. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's Oscar Ombach at the, Music All Stars. It doesn't matter if it's someone at the Sony Publishing or Universal Publishing or Cobalt. Doesn't matter. Is it the right person for you? Is it the right partner for you who can contribute value to what you are doing? Then it's right. And don't get caught up in making, the perfect setup. It's like, find the right person who will be there with you and for you, and that can support you in what you are doing creatively.
That is a nice way to end this conversation.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
a nice
Yeah, I agree.
closing remark. Yeah.
Wisdom
Yeah.
bomb.
We got
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
viewers' questions here. Anton, what is your golf handicap? Someone asks.
I think it's
It's
17.9
Oh wow!
now. I had a really shitty season
Mm.
last year.
it's a question from
I
Eggboy. I
man,
don't know who
that's
that guy
good.
is, but he
I'm
keeps
Eggboy.
talking.
Who's that? Man, mine is still 31.2. So
Yeah, we need to play, man.
What wasn't
Well, we
one of
tried last ADE, but then the weather was just
Yeah, it was shit.
terrible.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
October.
But
Shitty.
there will be a
It's
time where
Holland.
we play golf, man.
Talking
Yeah,
about
for sure.
ADE, I'm actually in the middle of planning the event, and it looks like it's going to be on Friday the 18th, out of the top of my mind. So if you're listening right now, and if you're planning to come to Amsterdam, keep an eye on the socials because it will be live soon. And we have another big announcement coming up probably next week, regarding a new coach that gets on board of artist coaching. So
Nice.
we'll keep you up to date on that. If you're not part of the Discord yet, also make sure to come in there. The link is in top of the description. That's the place where we hang out all week, talk to each other, answer questions, do Q&As and stuff. So if you want to come there, check the link.
Hey, do
Anton,
you
any
guys want to
closing-
know a fun fact before we
Yes.
end it?
You bought your
Always.
first plugin?
No. My third name in my name and the second name of my son is Anton. I just wanted to point that out.
Hey.
Nice.
It's actually a
Fantastic.
big name in my family tree.
Good to hear, Ralph. Good to
We
hear.
could be family, you know.
Well, we probably are. We're quite alike.
Yeah, it's one
Another
big family.
Another fun fact. This is in the same realm. I'm trying to sell this IKEA cupboard that I'm not using anymore, and someone on the marketplace contacted me, and his name was Anton.
Nah.
No way. It's
It
such
really
a
was.
typical
It really was.
Dutch
And what
name,
a
actually. Yeah.
coincidence.
I would do great in. I would be do so well in the Netherlands.
It's an old-fashioned Dutch name.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah.
I think it's like, yeah. Or German, like
Or
Anton,
German.
Anton.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
also
yeah,
very
yeah,
Dutch. Also, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
probably both.
We'll discuss it in Amsterdam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
It's a
cool.
good idea. It's a good idea.
Under that
Anton,
beer, you
thanks for
talked of
making
a
the
beer
time.
earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And that made me
Oh, yeah,
actually
yeah.
think of like, oh, a beer would be nice right now.
Oh yeah. Last week, Ralph, you were in the
Yeah,
middle
2
of
weeks
it.
ago, I
2 weeks
was
ago.
doing the podcast in Spain
weeks
with a
ago,
beer.
wow.
Yeah,
I
2
actually
weeks
got
ago.
I actually got a
Time
print
flies.
screen from that from like a reel or something like where you were drinking beer, and a friend of mine sent it to me. He was like, "Oh, I really like the new concept, man. Like just drinking beer during podcasts and stuff. I really like the concept." I was like, "Yeah, was the holiday edition."
Let's get a beer sponsor. Start
Yeah,
smoking again.
should.
Hey,
Yeah, exactly.
Old school. I like
yeah.
it.
Anton,
It
thanks
was
for taking
interesting
time.
insights, Anton.
Yeah.
Was interesting for me as well, even though I'm
Me too.
17 years here already.
Yeah.
It's always a difficult subject.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was such a pleasure. See you in Amsterdam, I hope.
Yeah,
For
we'll
sure.
be nice
Loved
to
having
meet
you on, man.
Thank you for having me.
Have
All right,
a good
guys.
day.
You do. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Cheers.